Okay, great. So, yeah, thanks again for joining us. My name is Emily Vail. I'm the executive director of the Hudson River Watershed Alliance. And with Jess Coonan from New York Sea Grant, we co-facilitate the Hudson Valley Flood Resilience Network. So, before we dig into the details of the upcoming training, we wanted to give some background and introduction on the Flood Resilience Network itself, because we know many of you are either outside of the Hudson Valley or new to our network and might want to join. So in terms of some housekeeping, we are recording this webinar. We'll be sending the recording out to everyone who's registered for it today. So anyone else from your communities can get caught up on the details of this program. If you have questions during either of the presentations, you can open up the Q&A box and drop those questions in there, and we'll have some time for questions at the end. So with that, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Hudson Valley Flood Resilience Network. We know in the Hudson Valley that floods are increasing both in frequency and intensity across the region. We're seeing extreme rain and increases in rainfall rate that are overwhelming systems, tropical storms and nor'easters, like some of our major hurricanes and tropical storms. We're seeing aging and undersized infrastructure, stormwater, culverts, etc. Land use practices that may be outdated or may be for different types of climate scenarios. And then, of course, facing sea level rise and coastal flooding, storm surge as well. So we've got all different types of flooding that our communities in the Hudson Valley are dealing with. And we found that the burden of adapting to flood risk primarily falls on local governments in New York State. And there are 221 municipalities in the Hudson River Estuary watershed. And many of these municipalities, many of your communities are quite small. So about half of them have a population of less than 10,000, 20% have a population less than 2,500. And we know that capacity is really challenging in these communities. There's a lot of work to be done. There's lots of local challenges in addition to flooding. And this work is often advanced by dedicated individuals who are limited in their time and bandwidth. We also know that there can be a lot of turnover in municipalities. And so really, this is where a network that provides support can come in. So the mission of the Hudson Valley Flood Resilience Network is to connect local governments who are committed to taking actionable steps to manage both current and future flood risk. And we have this network to provide a supportive environment. It's a forum for articulating success and sharing those successes across the region. The network acts as a source of collective and institutional knowledge around flood resilience and its resources that folks can tap into to get local support. And it's also a catalyst for innovation and collaboration across different communities. The network started after historic flooding from Hurricane Irene, Tropical Storm Lee, and Superstorm Sandy, with representatives from Catskill, Kingston, and Piermont individually taking a sea level rise task force approach to really plan for what happens in the next storm, what happens with future flood risk as well, assessing waterfront vulnerabilities, and then coming together to form a learning group. And they gathered, shared, and compared strategies across communities and found a lot of similarities and found real value in connecting to get support in implementing next steps from those plans. So the Flood Resilience Network was officially established in 2018 for municipalities to work together on flood resilience in that supportive environment. And since that time, the network has really been a partnership between the New York State DEC Hudson River Estuary Program, the New York State Water Resources Institute at Cornell University, Scenic Hudson, the Consensus Building Institute, New York Sea Grant, and the Hudson River Watershed Alliance. And we really want to thank the Estuary Program and the New York State Water Resources Institute for your continued support of this network that provides such value to our local communities. We had a period of growing the network and then really hit the ground running after 2023 when we created a strategic roadmap with lots of community engagement and ideas. So that strategic roadmap defined members and partners, our structure of the network. It also defined a shared leadership model with co-facilitation from the Hudson River Watershed Alliance and New York Sea Grant, but really leadership from our advisory committee, which includes both municipalities and regional partners. The strategic roadmap also set some programming goals and prioritized activities so we could make the most of this time and energy together. The Hudson Valley Flood Resilience Network provides a learning network. And it's uniquely focused on supporting local governments and the challenges that they're facing. We really seek to respond to the needs of our community partners at the municipal scale. The network provides virtual and in-person convenings for peer learning to share case studies, strategies, lessons learned, and open up forums for discussion. We provide trainings that are specifically for network members and partners. We share email updates to share opportunities for funding and training. And we also play an important role in facilitating communication between both local governments and regional partners. So we've got some photos of some of the programs that we've offered in the past, and I want to go into a couple more in a little bit more detail as an example. So about once a quarter, we host a virtual Lunch and Learn presentation. In 2025, we heard from Mayor Nikki Armacost from the Village of Hastings-on-Hudson on a successful application to implement a stormwater management practice that would significantly reduce flooding in a local neighborhood. And we heard from the town of Olive about their flood buyout program and some tough decisions to make, keep residents safe, but also the planning behind all of that work. We held an in-person site visit and meeting in Kingston last year. We do these about once or twice a year, where we convene folks together with presentations, facilitated conversations, and then go outside and do a walking tour field trip to check out some flood mitigation projects in action. Lots of great Q&A, lots of great discussion around what we've seen work well and some challenges faced by communities. And we've also, starting this year, been able to offer some targeted trainings that are specific for network members and partners. So we had 2 flood risk and crisis communication for flood readiness trainings, one in Kingston and one in Pomona, New York, to share strategies on how to improve communications before, during, and after a major flood event. This is something that comes up quite a lot, and really responding to our community's needs and interests with these trainings. And then, of course, the Land Use Leadership Alliance training, which we had in White Plains last year through the Flood Resilience Network, and we'll have a lot more information on that in the next presentation. So who can join the network? Members are representatives from town, village, city, and county governments in the Hudson River Estuary Watershed. Here's a map of our current membership. It's also on our website. And representatives from local governments include elected officials, appointed officials, volunteers, and staff. And we currently have 33 members, cities, villages, towns, and counties that are a part of the Flood Resilience Network. We also have a rung of participation available for partners. These are staff that contribute time, expertise, capacity, and resources to advance the municipalities and our members' flood resilience goals. These can include staff from federal, state, or regional agencies, regional nonprofit organizations, and private sector consulting firms. And we currently have 38 different partner organizations as well. So if you're not already a member, you can go on our website and complete the online form. If you go to this URL, and we'll be sending out this presentation that also has all these links, so you have access to everything. Click on either the member agreement or the partner inventory, and ignore that it's 2023. This is the right form for this year. And if your municipality is already a member, but you would like to receive the emails from us directly, go ahead and fill out that form again so that you can be one of the documented representatives of your municipality to stay in the loop on upcoming opportunities and programs. We've gotten great feedback from our network. We really strive to check in regularly and make sure we're continuing to respond to our community's needs. We've got some great quotes from some long-term members who are also on our advisory committee about the value of the Flood Resilience Network from their perspectives, which for Julie Noble in the city of Kingston, she's talking about all of the amazing things that they've done, providing a forum for them to share that, and also learning about the successes of other municipalities. And a great quote from Sylvia Welch from the village of Piermont about how valuable it's been to hear from other municipalities and the order of operations that they've taken, the steps that they've taken, so that they can have a better sense of what next steps they should take as well towards implementation of some of these priorities. So, coming in spring 2026, we will be offering another round of the Land Use Leadership Alliance training through the Hudson Valley Flood Resilience Network, partnering with Pace University Land Use Law Center. We piloted this approach in 2025, and after a lot of success, we're really looking forward to offering it again to a new cohort of municipalities, thanks to funding from the Nature Conservancy's Climate Resilience Grant Program. So that's it from me and the Flood Resilience Network. We'll be sharing out some of these links if you'd like more information. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Tiffany and Jessica from the Land Use Law Center.
Okay, hopefully everyone can see my screen now, and it's great having everyone here. Thank you so much for joining us. What I'm going to do is give you a little background about who we are at the Land Use Law Center, and then also a little bit more background about this program we're talking about called the Land Use Leadership Alliance Training Program. So I'm joined here by Jessica Bacher, the Executive Director. I'm Tiffany Zezula, the Deputy Director of the Land Use Law Center. We're actually located in White Plains, New York, and as keeps getting expressed, we are affiliated with Pace School of Law, where our offices are at. I think are sort of known for a dual mission. We identify respected local leaders throughout the Hudson Valley region, and we provide them with training and technical assistance that they need to hopefully make very sound and sustainable land use decisions. But we also have a side of us that we're providing students with in-depth practical experience themselves. We are a law school. But what's wonderful is the connection between the both as leaders from across the region are expressing concerns and issues and new topics. We're able to use sort of the power of our students to find best practices and case studies, both within our own backyard, but of course across the region. And so we are known sort of as a pracademic institution. It was in actually 1995 that we were asked by the President's Council on Sustainable Development to examine what the Hudson Valley would look like in 50 years if the current pattern of land use development continued. And this is sort of what the impetus for the Land Use Leadership Alliance training program was. The results were startling that, right, about half of our open space would be developed upon based on the current zoning trends that we were looking at. We know from that there's going to be some more, of course, sprawling patterns of development. We saw from that an increase in vehicle miles traveled. There'd be a lack of affordable housing. And then as we're seeing, and again, that was not what we were looking at 50 years, but was now this impact and these new, land use impacts, of course, through climate change, of flooding, and now the concerns of resiliency. So we are, again, watching all of those patterns. And at the time when we were studying all of this, the question was, of course, what can be done? What are we going to do? How do we stop sort of what's happening, or how do we begin to change a little bit of what this conversation is regarding planning and zoning and land use? And so the resounding answer was train the local leaders, right? Train the municipal bodies that are, of course, have that power, have that authority, who are making the decisions day in and day out about how our communities are shaped and developed and preserved. And so at the time, right, it sounded super easy to us. Sure, we can train all the different local leaders and municipal staff, but as you're well aware, there's so many people who have an impact on the land use system. And so it became really understanding, right, who from communities were what we were going to call change agents, that if we gave them the tools and techniques, then the best practices and the case studies, they would be able to go home and build a leadership team around them to help, navigate sort of the next steps within their processes. So the LULA was born. We call it the LULA, Land Use, again, Leadership Alliance Training Program, LULA for short. And it was all about, again, education. And we would form two pieces of the program, which is one part is really about, as I've been talking about, the legal tools, the techniques, right? what are some of what's happening in the backyard that others are doing, and how can you begin to sort of learn from that and take that to make your own. And the second part of the program, though, and I think is part of some of the unique pieces of this program, is talking about collaborative decision making and how do we engage our public within this conversation? How do we have better conversations about land use? How do we make this a little less adversarial? Because as we all know, land use is certainly complex. It's not for the faint of heart. And, we are making major decisions that affect people. And yes, we do arm wrestle within the program when and if you come. So we also have a recruitment process, and we're working again with the Hudson River Watershed Alliance here and the Nature Conservancy about again and being a part of this here. Part of the recruitment process is being part of the Resiliency Network, and so we help select individuals who will participate in the program. Yes, it's open to everybody, but then there's also just ensuring that we have the right number of people, ensuring that we have a good sampling from people from different backgrounds, sort of so that we can mimic the land use decision-making process within the program as well. It is 3 days of training. You are committing a lot of your time to this. I look at it as a retreat. Most people look at it as a retreat where they can sit back, sort of talk about the issues that their community is faced with, brainstorm with us, brainstorm with other leaders in the room. And I think that's, part of the beauty of the program. And what's nice is food and refreshments are also provided. So it it's a large conference, but again, it's very participatory. It's very interactive. But we do look at this more as a retreat experience. I'm not going to go into too much detail about this part, but we do base this program off of the idea of the diffusion of innovation. And secondly, what the program is known for is that we tailor the program around the direct needs of the people who are participating in the program. So yes, we have an agenda more or less within our minds, but you will bring sort of the content of what you want to hear more about, and that's what this program is. So each program is technically very unique. As I said, again, this process of the infusion of the innovation of the diffusion of innovation is, we have realized that people don't just attend conferences and training programs and then go home and make, miracles happen. It's really about peer-to-peer learning, and that's what the program sets up. If we have the right people in the room that are very open-minded to understanding and learning new methods, that if we show them and talk about case studies and best practices, they will take those practices and sort of want to take and make it their own and put their own fingerprint on it. We're hoping in the program, again, to build the capacity for change among the different land use leaders that are sitting in our room. And so that's really sort of the essence of the program, as we have done for the past past 30 years now. Next year is our 30th anniversary of the LULA program, shockingly. As I said, recruitment, we like to have a little bit of everybody, and maybe you don't see yourself on here, but that's okay. The nominees of our program, are both between board members themselves. You might sit on an environmental group or a committee. Maybe you're part of your, sustainability task force or your climate smart task force. We take citizen community activists that are interested to learn more. And then, of course, county and regional representatives, developers, and even landowners in the program. I just have to say, only because it's a unique picture at the bottom left, is we have started to involve ourselves. As you're hearing, the program can tailor itself to any and all land use topics. We've been working in the space of clean energy, and so as you're seeing below, we're taking solar field tours and taking group pictures there as well. So that's been our recent efforts. And I leave this with you because we know that land use is highly intergovernmental. It's interdisciplinary. there's an intersection between federal, state, regional, and the local level. And, the importance here for us is those local boards. They have been delegated authority from our New York State legislature to operate in the world of land use. And that has been important for us, that this is a ground up, bottom up approach. That, again, the tools, the techniques, the authority are with the local government officials. And so to have everyone in that space in the room together, learning and being a part of something, I think is sort of, again, creates a wonderful, experience and a good learning environment for all those involved. And in the space of resiliency, this is, a critical issue. It's something that, many municipalities are looking at and determining what their next steps are going to be. And what we're hoping to do is that you leave the program with a renewed sense of hope, with that ability to deal with the change that is coming. So I'm sharing a little bit here about what a sample agenda would look like, right? We, as you're seeing, we do take a moment in that issue session to find out more about what you're dealing with. We usually have this is our rough day one agenda, I would call it. We talk about the land use system and your authority. We're going to talk a little bit about what a resilience assessment might look like. And then, of course, diving into some of the beginning of our planning tools and how people are working together within those. We share case studies and models. And then we, in the program throughout 3 days, you're working towards your implementation plan of what you'd like to do when you go home. So that is another piece of the program. And topics that we're seeing within our resilience program have really ranged, but, we of course highlight the Climate Smart Communities Initiative of New York State. We talk about public education, as I said, and collaboration. And then we will hone in a little bit more on where you get that data, where you get, understanding the mapping capabilities that are out there. What are the platforms that you can use to learn more? And of course, our model resiliency laws and the RISE assessment itself, which I'm going to turn to Jess for just in a second. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to build human infrastructure for collaborative governance. I think that's the full spirit of the program. And we have been, again, thrilled to be doing this for 30 years. We have about now probably close to 4,000 local leaders that have graduated from this program in the region. We now work throughout all of New York State, not just the Hudson Valley region. And the program has even found its way nationally in various other states as well. So there's something we hope special, and we hope that you can join us for an upcoming LULA program. And then on that note, I'm going to turn it to Jess to talk a little bit more about then what you specifically get by attending the program and how our recent graduates have been working now when we tailor this program towards resiliency, working themselves through an audit process and assessment with us so that they know what they can do when they go home. So Jess?
Yeah, if you want to go to the next slide. So the tool that we use to conduct the assessment is called the Resilience Implementation Strategic Enhancements, RISE tool. It was created by FEMA and EPA post-Sandy with significant support that allowed it to be customized for New York communities from the New York Department of State. It is actually housed on their webpage. If you want to take a look, there's a link there that you can flip through and get a sense in more detail of what I'm about to cover with you. But really the premise is that local governments play a significant role in addressing coastal resiliency. And in doing so, they need to, especially entering a program like this and learning more of what they can do from a planning and zoning, community outreach standpoint, really understand their starting point. And so that's what the assessment tool is designed to do, is let the participants know what their community already has in place. Tiff, you want to just go to the next? So this is just the table of contents. I'm going to dig in a little bit on the components and what it looks like and exactly what the assessment tool will look like. So it's divided up into 7 different focus areas, which is helpful because we've worked with communities that, some of these resonate with them, some do not, so that it covers sort of the priorities for each community and can be customized. I'll get into a little bit more what each of these focus areas cover, but then you can see how on the next slide, the particular one. So each area has kind of a description of the focus area and examples and practical applications. So in focus area 1, you will find a lot of the strategies related to planning. So understanding better what exactly your community has in place with regard to planning, ensuring there's a comprehensive understanding. It focuses and hones in on data points that are helpful as far as existing conditions. So understanding better what type of planning is happening in the community, what's incorporated into your plans, but also what data is essential to kind of carry out those planning efforts. Next slide, Tim. So the way that it's organized, you see here, is that it's divided up into very specific strategies. Those strategies are categorized by equity components, quick start, so things that you could do that are not going to take a lot of time if you want to do things really quickly. It also highlights any strategy that will also get you credit in the FEMA Community Rating System program. And so you see those columns there, and really what we do for participants of the LULA program is complete that last column, your local links and resources. So we go through every one of these. I think there's over 100 in the 7 different focus areas. And we do a desktop analysis of your plans, zoning, and online resources to determine, for example, does your comprehensive plan contain a hazard mitigation or resilience chapter or content? If we find anything relevant, so you know what you already have in place, we'll put a summary and a link to it in that last column. So when you show up on day 1, you will get this completed assessment with that last column filled in, so that as we're working through strategies and tasks, you kind of know what you have in place, so that you can also make decisions about what you need to learn more about and what you might want to do post-program. The other great thing is that, if we go to the next slide, the RISE tool not only has a list of these different strategies, but for each one, if you were going to decide to carry them out, what will be covering the program, but not for all 100 plus strategies, is kind of best practices, guidebooks, toolkits, sort of trying to help you navigate more resources to move forward with the prioritized action. So you can see here how that's organized within this RISE assessment. So if you were to decide to incorporate more resilience into your comp plan, not only will you have an extensive lecture about that and talk to experts and hear about best practice examples at the LULA program, you will also be able to kind of go to the links and resources here that we'll build on to see what's happening nationally and what other resources are available through the RISE assessment. So as I indicated, we will do this and complete this for all of the focus areas. Again, we find that some communities are more interested in particular areas. So as noted, focus area 1 is sort of more like the planning and data related information. One of the big things about this focus area is thinking about silos of planning and really trying to break down those silos. And so a lot of the planning and data collection that happens here is very helpful from that broad perspective of planning. We've done a program funded by the Department of State through the local waterfront revitalization program, where we've completed these assessments with communities. They've been able to kind of really work through their planning efforts. We've been able to work with them on prioritizing next steps, and then they've been able to go on after the RISE assessment process with them that was funded to work with us to then apply for subsequent funding through that program to actually update or create an LWP program in their communities. So there's, funding that can kind of really layer in here that I think is very helpful for the implementation piece as well. So just quickly looking at some of those other focus areas and what this gets into. So focus area 2 is really looking at where development is occurring. So encouraging development outside of vulnerable areas is focus area 2, and really digging in and sort of the kind of some of the zoning aspects and where you're permitting and protecting. Focus area 3 is looking at how to reduce risk to people, buildings, and facilities in vulnerable areas. Focus area 4 is plan for and encourage development in safer areas. So these are sort of building on each other. Again, I would say 2, 3, and 4 move a bit from the planning more into kind of looking at zoning and incorporation of mechanisms more directly, what districts, what level of density in what areas, and where we're protecting open space and natural resources. Focus area 5 is really focused on stormwater management, incorporation of green infrastructure, and those types of resilience interventions. Focus area 6, expand community capacity. So the great thing about this RISE assessment, it's not just the planning and zoning, just like the LULA, it talks about community engagement, programming, policy, and not just kind of the planning and zoning aspects, but sort of the full suite of what communities are focused on. And focus area 7 even begins to look at private sector, the development community, how they can be involved, and a more expanded look also at community groups. So building the support kind of and removing barriers. So that's what will be completed as part of the RISE assessment, something, as I mentioned, we did when we do more direct technical assistance with communities that we did through DOS. But what you can do as a next step after the LULA program that the RISE assessment will guide you through is that you can use it to identify priorities and strategies, which we will start to talk about in the LULA program and get you thinking about what you might want to work on. But then you can use this system to also build out a much more detailed implementation plan. So in the next slide, you'll see the template that the RISE assessment uses. Again, in the LULA program, we will do some kind of initial prioritization and thinking about next steps. But communities have often taken this to that next level, done really extensive action planning, post-RISE assessment, which usually turns into some type of funding application and subsequent work to continue. Kingston would be a great example of that, where they went on to get LWRP funding from Department of State. So I think that's my last slide. Yep, on the RISE assessment piece, which we hope really kind of gives communities a really good starting place and direction for post-LULA. I'll turn it back to Emily.
Great. Thank you so much, Tiffany and Jessica. So we're going to go back to me and give me one moment to share my screen here. And I'll just remind everyone that if you have questions, please use the Q&A box. We will be taking questions in just a moment. I just want to talk through some next steps. So you heard about the Hudson Valley Flood Resilience Network, who we are, what we do, how you can join. You heard about the LULA training, the 3-day land use training, along with the RISE local land use assessment. And so now we're going to put it all together and talk about some next steps. So the Hudson Valley Flood Resilience Network will be hosting a Land Use Leadership Alliance training this spring. It will be on 3 Thursdays. It's an all-day training, as Tiffany mentioned. And the dates that we have set aside are April 23rd, May 7th, and May 21st. Our location is to be determined based on who's selected to be a part of the cohort this round. We're hoping, last time we did it in White Plains at Pace's center there. And so we're hoping to do it a little bit further north, perhaps in Columbia County or thereabouts, just trying to spread this opportunity around so it's a little easier for folks from different geographies to attend. So we will be selecting municipalities for the training, and then 2 to 3 of those will receive the RISE assessment that Jessica just walked us through. We're looking to have a cohort of about 30 people, again, municipalities that are going through the training, but also that subset that will be receiving that RISE assessment. So if you're interested in this opportunity, please make sure first that you are a member of the Flood Resilience Network. So if your municipality is a member, you'll be listed on our website. This is a map, again, of some of the membership. Even if your municipality is already on the list, if you have a municipal affiliation and you're not receiving emails directly from Jessica Coonan at New York Sea Grant, and you would like to, please go ahead and fill out that member form so that you'll get emails directly. So the eligibility, again, is that the municipality should be located within the Hudson River Estuary watershed and that you have a municipal affiliation of some kind, whether you're an elected official, a volunteer, a staff person, or appointed to a local board. Once you're a member, you can complete the online interest form, which we'll be emailing out to everyone for the Land Use Leadership Alliance cohort by January 23rd. So we'll take a look at all of the folks who are interested and come up with a well-rounded cohort for this particular round. So for this cohort, we're really looking for municipalities that are either interested in or have recently completed a comprehensive plan or a local waterfront revitalization plan, and can send a team of 3 to 4 people to all 3 days of the training that are available on those dates. We're also looking at municipalities, especially for that RISE assessment tool, that contain mapped priority floodplain complexes for protection, which have been mapped by the Nature Conservancy. And there's a link there to that web mapper. We have a list of all of the municipalities that do contain those areas as well. So we didn't put that on the form because we'll be able to cross-check that. But just know that we're really interested in bringing together municipalities that contain some of these really high priority floodplains that might be protected through local laws and other strategies that we'll be talking about in the LULA. A couple of questions that have already come up in advance. So counties are eligible to join the training cohort, but would not receive a RISE local land use assessment. That assessment is really well suited for the towns, villages, and city level of local government, but certainly if there's a county that's working on some of these issues and can send a team, that's fantastic. Please fill out that member interest form because counties are considered members of the Flood Resilience Network. If your municipality already has a RISE assessment that was completed separate from the LULA that we did last year, as Jessica mentioned that there's been a group of municipalities that already received a RISE assessment through Department of State funding. You're still eligible to join the training. Obviously, you won't get another RISE, but we'd love to connect with you and help continue to implement some of those next steps. If you're a partner, so again, regional partners are agency staff, consulting firms, and regional nonprofits. So if you're interested in attending this training, you can fill out the partner interest form. Of course, you have to be an official FRN partner to join the training, and we will be prioritizing municipalities, but as space allows, we'd love to include partners in the training as well. It's part of having that really well-rounded cohort and making new connections and bringing all this great people, information, resources together. So more information from municipalities. Jessica mentioned the city of Kingston. They received a RISE assessment and presented about it as part of our September 2024 Lunch and Learn through the Flood Resilience Network. We have a recording of that available. We'll send that link out as well. Julie Noble, the sustainability coordinator, gave a fantastic presentation. It's 15 minutes, very streamlined, very to the point about how the city of Kingston went through that RISE process and how they're implementing next steps and some of the outcomes from that process. So we'll send that around as well. Wanted to share some feedback from the folks who participated in the spring LULA cohort. Again, this was the first time we really brought the Flood Resilience Network and this LULA model together, and it went very well. So just to read a couple of these, flood resilience and land use are new topics to me, so this program was an excellent intro and deep dive. Since participating, a flood resilience project has emerged, and I'm grateful to have more info and tools to address it, as well as an expanded network of subject matter experts to tap into. And that actually is something I really want to highlight, that when municipalities participate in these trainings, they have the ongoing support of the Flood Resilience Network going forward. So we're really excited to be able to do a deep dive with a subset of our communities here, and then continue to support next steps and implementation through the ongoing programming of the network. So I think it's a great opportunity to really tap into that network of subject matter experts and then peer network of other municipalities as well. Another participant noted there were many jewels. Some specific highlights were the in-depth explanations of laws, planning, zoning, subdivision, site plan review, and land management, and also learning more specifically about some stormwater management efforts. And then zoning was a huge hit for the participants this round. We heard that some of the highlights included the zoning exercise, that zoning can be a powerful tool, and overlay zoning to accomplish multiple land use goals. And as Tiffany mentioned, during day one, we do an issue identification of the folks who are in that cohort. So we can really dive a little bit more deeply into what you're specifically interested in, which tools and strategies would be most impactful. So for this group, it was definitely zoning, and for this upcoming group, it might be a different tool. So there's a lot of incorporation of feedback to really make this as impactful as possible. So this was our photo, our group photo of our cohort from last round, and we're really looking forward to identifying a great group of folks to be in our spring 2026 cohort as well. So that's it in terms of our presentation. So I see that we've got a couple of questions already. So if you've got any questions, again, put them in the Q&A box, and we'll be able to take those now for you. Okay, great. So this is a question about the RISE process in particular. So I'll read the question. So to improve community flood resilience, it's often necessary to relocate homes and businesses, not just to move them out of harm's way, but to make way for floodplain restoration projects that provide flood reduction benefits that have larger benefits beyond just those individual homes. Can you speak about how this has come up in the RISE process?
So I don't, unless Jess has it in front of her. Jess, does Rise talk about buyouts?
There are some resources about buyouts. There are some data points related to buyouts, like making sure communities have repetitive loss information, so you know which properties are located in places, so we make it where they've had destruction multiple times. So when you're making decisions about kind of development going forward and what locations might be appropriate for buyouts, and moving and prioritizing development. So there are a number of different strategies that look at it, from planning, data collection, educating real estate agents with brochures and handouts, so advising people buying in certain areas. So there are different ways that the RISE assessment kind of has strategies that look at that issue as well. So.
Great, thank you. Are there any other questions? We're happy to take questions about the Flood Resilience Network, the LULA training, the RISE assessment process, our cohort development process. Any questions about any aspect of the presentation today? And of course, if you have questions after the fact, I'll be emailing everything out to everyone, and you can feel free to email any questions you might have to me as well. Okay. Question, our community is in the midst of updating its comprehensive plan. Would we be an appropriate fit to join the cohort?
You want me to answer? Yes, yes, and double yes. Comprehensive planning, well, everyone knows, not everyone on this call, but you'll find out I love comprehensive plans. And I think any communities who are in the midst of it, about to, looking or considering updates to the comprehensive plan, it's the sort of the foundation of where we can begin, both in community, conversation on these topics, education, and then setting strong policies in regarding, obviously all these topics. So it's a perfect moment to come in. And as Jess was highlighting, focus area 1, again, we're going to go through essentially your old comprehensive plan and share where things might be light or missing, or have some suggestions. So I think that would be, it's a great, moment to be able to come into the program.
And one of the reasons we're prioritizing municipal interest in comprehensive planning along with the local waterfront revitalization program is because it offers a direct opportunity to use some of those RISE assessment implementation recommendations as well. So the next question is about how damage, including repetitive loss at properties that's not captured by FEMA because they don't have flood insurance, for instance, how is that incorporated into planning efforts?
I mean, I can just add like more specifically, for example, in the RISE assessment, one of the strategies, like a plan or program is in place for a strategic acquisition buyout of repetitive loss properties in hazard areas, and their reuse as open space. So sometimes that information is more just to guide decisions about those types of programs and not necessarily using it specifically through, a FEMA program. So hopefully that's the quickest off the top of my head answer I can give you. We could talk more about that.
Are there any other questions for us? Great. What is the time frame for applying to the LULA program? Yeah, perfect. So we are going to be sending out the whole package from today, the recording, links to those interest forms, how to join the Flood Resilience Network, all of those different steps. We'll be sending that out as soon as this recording is posted and available, hopefully tomorrow. So you'll have time to take a closer look and share it also with your municipalities. Of course, it's really important to have those 3 to 4 folks from your community to come as a team. It really helps build that shared understanding, but also get ready for some of those implementation next steps. So we are looking for applications before Friday, January 23rd. That will give us enough time to prepare those RISE assessments, which do take some time, get some more information about all of the folks who will be participating, start to do the agenda, and get us ready for those dates that we'll be doing in the spring. Again, that's April 23rd, May 7th, and May 21st. So the time frame for applying, you'll have a couple of weeks to reconnect with your communities and get folks' availability and interest. And then we will be looking at those interest forms after Friday, January 23rd.
And I mean, I'll just add, I think typically we'll have selections, like to know that you're in the program, let's say, I would say beginning of March, no later than that. So I'd see a question, if you're okay with me, Emily, say about a community who's had different people participating already. It doesn't preclude you from trying to join the 2026 program. Again, I think the essence of the program and spirit of the program is more people from a community that have participated in this. You build sort of a leadership team then talking the same talk. Does not preclude you. But I will say, I know we are also trying to, again, hone in on some of the communities that have not ever been to a LULA or, again, have a leadership team, but definitely we'll consider everybody.
Yeah, and you may have also done a different LULA. As Tiffany mentioned, there's been LULAs of all different topics, housing, clean energy. We've partnered on several watershed-focused Land Use Leadership Alliance trainings. So yeah, having done a LULA does not preclude you. It's helpful for us to know that because, again, we're trying to get a well-rounded cohort together. And so, yeah, if you've gone to a LULA, but the rest of your municipality would like to go to this one to even strengthen implementation, that's great too. That'll be really helpful information for us to know too. So we love, of course, I've done like 5 or 6 LULAs and I always learn something new every single time. So it's a great repeat program, even if you've done it in a different type of content or context.
And I see another question here about, can 3 or 4 people, a possible combo of county and municipal reps? Yes, yes, and yes. Again, we're happy we love that. We love, again, teams of, people coming from a municipality with county representatives. We would certainly appreciate that and lean into that because I do think that helps towards implementation and next steps.
Great questions, all.
And we tell jokes during the program and we pass out candy. So, I mean, there's nothing to lose. Food, land use topics, municipal leadership, jokes, candy, and maps. I mean, what could go wrong?
All right. Well, seeing no other, oh, spoke too soon. And arm wrestling. Yes, exactly.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you.
The spirit arises. So, thanks so much to all of you for joining us on the webinar today at this really busy year-end time. We wanted to get you this information as soon as possible so that you can talk to your municipal folks and get some teams assembled, get some interest submitted. We will be making those selections, like Tiffany said, in the early part of 2026. If your municipality is not selected for some reason, this is what we're hoping to be an ongoing program. So we don't want you to worry about it. It certainly won't be a waste of time to submit your information. It helps us, again, through the Flood Resilience Network, really understand who's out there, what folks' interest level is, how we can best provide the kinds of training that will help you all locally meet your local goals. So, we're really here to support that in an ongoing way, and I think that's one of the things that's really unique about this network and how we can provide that training and that ongoing support. So again, thanks so much. We'll send out the email package to you shortly, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks all.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you. Bye.
Have a good day.